I'm back outside, the window's installed, and I want you to see how much progress we've made. It'll all make sense as I explain it. Look at this. Okay, the window's installed, and you can see I've also cut away the siding. It's really, we're in really good shape here. You can see here's the nailing fin. Here's a galvanized roofing nail that holds it in place. You can see the nailing fin up above here as well. There's one of the galvanized nails. And this is a slot right here where the trim goes. And I measured, I knew exactly how wide my trim was going to be. I made a pencil line on the siding, a second one, and I used a grinder with a dry diamond blade and cut a very precise line. So now all we have to do before we put the trim in is just weatherproof this window. And that's just a matter of putting on some strips of rubberized asphalt and layering it. And we're going to start at the bottom and put a horizontal strip in. And that strip is going to fit behind this piece of siding and lap over. See that red? That's the original color of the house. It's going to lap over the top of that red piece of siding, but not stick out below it here. You won't be able to see it. That way, any water coming from under the window is going to go behind this piece of siding. It'll go out in front of this piece of siding and then down to the ground. And then once we have that piece of flashing in place, then we can start to put it up along the side of the window on both sides, and we're going to be in great shape. We're going to be ready to go. Well, it's another day, and we're back at work. In the meantime, what happened, just so you know, we wanted to get this ready, and we tried to get it done in one day, but we couldn't. And there was rain in the forecast, and we had 2 inches of rain since the last video. And well, I can tell you one thing, everything went fine. We got that weatherproofing tape in. It was all done correctly, and there were no leaks inside, so that's a great sign. So let's pick up right now, and I want to show you where we're at and what the next steps are. It's really pretty important. I want to show you something about the weatherproof tape and what you have to do to make sure you're not going to have any leaks. And this is a little different because this is a remodel job. In other words, if this was new construction, we wouldn't have to do right now what I'm going to show you. All right, so here we are. This is the lower left corner of the window. And I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this on video, but right here, there's like a hole where this piece of weatherproofing tape, ends, and right above it, the vertical piece begins. So if you look down inside there, that could be problematic. There could be, if water somehow ever got behind here, that could leak. So that's got to be caulked. And when we wouldn't have this problem if we could put the siding on later. And another thing that has to be done is this gap right here, where the siding that I've cut in a nice straight line touches up against the weather tape. That needs to be caulked, and this all needs to be caulked all the way up to the top, before the piece of trim goes in. Really, really important. In my opinion, it's not good enough to put the trim in and then just caulk, right here on the outside. I prefer to, I'm going to do both. I want to have caulk in here that the trim gets set into, and then after the trim's in, come back and caulk this joint as well. But I'm just trying to tell you, this needs caulk. You don't have to worry about back here because the window already comes with this pre-engineered channel in it that directs the water all the way down to the bottom. And of course, the way we've set it up now, remember, this piece of weather tape goes underneath the nailing fin, and then it laps over the piece of siding that's underneath this piece of siding. So any water that gets on here, it's automatically going to shed to the outside of the structure. So that's perfect. We don't have to worry about that. So that's a nice little, little trick that you need to know, that you've got to caulk this. So right now what I'm going to do is we're going to put in this piece of trim. I've already got it cut. We're going to put in the piece on the right, and then all we have to do is put the piece on the bottom, the top, and you'll see that in the next videos. I've got the window trimmed out, and it took a little bit of time to get the cuts right, but it was well worth it. I want you to look at it. It really looks pretty good. Imagine what it's going to look like when it's painted. Check this out. All right, so the trim's in place, and you can see how it fits perfectly against the siding. Made a real nice straight cut on that siding. I just used a dry diamond blade in my grinder to do that. And boy, it just cut a beautiful line. I mean, it's right on the money. And of course, this just goes to show you that you can remodel, you can put in these windows with minimal disruption to the existing surfaces. So you can see that the trim is trimmed out, you know, above the window. The little Z flashing is on. You can see that right here. And the way this flashing works, this is a piece of metal right here that comes down over the top of the piece of trim, and this flashing goes back horizontally, and then it goes up behind this piece of siding. So I had to fit this piece of flashing in before I slid this piece of trim in. And I had to finagle this trim in. I had to kind of beat it with a piece of wood. I had to cut it, and but it fits really, really nicely. So you'll just have to trim out your windows. You know, every window's different. I have no idea what kind of trim you're going to use. We just need a little spackle now. Maybe a little bit more caulk. You can see the trim goes down below the window here. Everything just worked out really, really nice here. And oh, one final thing here. Look at this. I don't know if you can see that up there. Probably. Oh yeah, right there. You see that label? That's the AMA gold label for the Simonton windows that I used. You want this label right here. If you could really see it up close, it says AAMA, and that's the AMA label, and it means that this window, it meets some of the highest standards in the industry. I mean, it's literally the gold standard. So you want to make sure that you get an AMA approved window if you can. So that's it. That's the outside. All that it needs now is just paint. You know how to do that. Nothing hard about that whatsoever. If you want to discover more home improvement tips, go to AskTheBuilder.com.